10 popular expat countries to stay away from. The reasons for moving abroad are numerous and frequently awesome, including retiring to Costa Rica, making a killing in Hong Kong, and hanging out with other anime nerds in Japan. 2.2 million to 6.8 million Americans are reportedly living abroad at the moment, and the majority of them probably wouldn't have it any other way. Living abroad isn't, however, all rainbows, lollipops, and guilt-free sex with attractive locals. Many of the most well-liked expat locations on Earth have a shadowier, secret side to them. If you have a negative experience in one of these nations, your dream life abroad may become a terrifying nightmare. 10. The foundation of Japan's justice system is false confessions. Japan is a nation so safe that it resembles Somalia more than Canada. Its intentional homicide rate is much lower than America's, at 0.3 per 100,000 people. There isn't much terrorism there. Only 12 people were shot and killed in 2013, but even that meager number represented a significant increase. 3 people were killed by shootings in total in 2012. There are numerous intricate explanations for why Japan has a non-violent culture. One is how terrifying its police force is. I hope you don't end up in trouble with the law in Japan. You may be detained by the police for up to 23 days without being charged, during which time they will likely torture you. Tables are pushed into suspects, their feet are trampled on, and threats are shouted in their ears. Lack of sleep is typical, and choosing to say nothing is interpreted as an admission of guilt. You can only stop this assault by signing a confession, and good luck getting it back later. The courts will sentence you in accordance with their presumption that a confession is an admission of guilt. People frequently serve lengthy sentences for offenses they blatantly did not commit. 1/10 of all Japanese prisoners are thought to be there as a result of false confessions, and the government has no desire to reopen their cases. 9. If you insult the king's dog in Thailand, you will go to prison. Thailand is frequently portrayed as an East Asian paradise with gorgeous women, low living expenses, and pleasant weather. This is all accurate. It's also a nation where making fun of the king's dog can land you in jail for more than 10 years. The Thais' devotion to their king gives the British the impression that they are a country of republicans who despise royalty. Anyone who criticizes or disparages the royal family is subject to severe penalties under strict lèse-majesté laws. The military junta has expanded these laws since the coup in 2014 to include even the king's pets. Thanakorn Sirapabuan was charged in a military court in December 2015 for making a sarcastic internet post about the king's dog Copper. It's anticipated that he will serve a number of years behind bars. These rules definitely apply to visitors. A Swiss expat who covered a picture of the king with spray paint in 2007 received a 10-year sentence. Glenn Davies, the current U.S. ambassador, is under investigation for criticizing the existence of these silly laws. 8. Vietnam's drug laws are brutal to the core. Vietnam's drug laws are relatively lax compared to many of its neighbors, where drug possession can result in execution. Instead of being imprisoned, drug users are sent to treatment facilities where they can work their way out of addiction. Sounds pretty forward-thinking, no? Perhaps in theory. In reality, the rehabilitation centers are cruel prisons that force people to work. Those who have gone through the system have spoken of being beaten, tortured, and made to work incredibly long hours producing goods for private businesses. Missing a work quota may result in punishment. You might get beat up for complaining. In essence, you have no control over a guard who decides to punch you in the face simply for showing him your face. The centers can be worse than prison in some ways, where at least you have a release date. Some people in the rehabilitation program in Vietnam have been detained for years without a fair trial or a clear end in sight. The frequent staging of violent mass breakouts from these facilities by inmates may not come as a surprise. 7. The taxes in Italy are absurdly high. Italy may seem like the ideal nation with its unending sunshine, top-notch culture, and laid-back way of life. It may therefore surprise you to learn that it frequently appears on lists of the least friendly nations for expats. This is most likely due to financial reasons. Any foreigner moving to Italy can anticipate paying exorbitant taxes. Italy has high average tax rates. They have the highest estimates of all the G20 countries. As opposed to about 60% in the US, a high-wage earner can anticipate taking home only slightly more than half of their pay. Even worse than this, isn't it? Italy's bureaucratic red tape makes filing tax returns complicated and full of hidden fees that seem to be there to snare foreigners. Expats have been required to disclose all foreign assets since 2013. Included in this is the $14 that is still present in your former US bank account. If you don't declare that spare change, you risk receiving a sizable fine. The same is true for foreign earnings. If you live in Italy and sell a t-shirt for $13.68 on eBay, the government will take a portion of your sweet earnings. If you fail to tell them, you may be subject to legal action. 6. India experiences a horrific amount of traffic accidents. People's perceptions of retiring to India were changed in 2011 by the movie The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. The plot centers on a group of British retirees who relocate to the subcontinent and experience endearing adventures. Those experiences would more likely be described as death-defying in real life. The majority of fatal traffic accidents occur in India. The World Health Organization, WHO, data shows that more people die on Indian roads than any other country's roads combined. The country reported 105,725 fatal traffic accidents in 2009, but the WHO believes the actual number is more like 200,000. Comparatively, the US had the third highest number with only 42,642 cases. In India, reckless driving claims more lives in a typical year than malaria does worldwide. The government's recent decision to relax traffic safety regulations does not help with this. Since the spring of 2015, someone who runs over and kills a child is subject to a $780 fine and 1 year in jail. The maximum punishment is that. According to numerous reports, wealthy teenagers have killed homeless people by hitting them, yet their licenses have not even been suspended. 5. Nicaragua experiences pervasive corruption. Due to the numerous incentives that the government is providing foreigners to settle there, Nicaragua is currently one of the top retirement destinations in the world. Additionally, it is lovely, affordable, and warm all year round. Why not love it? Corruption. What's not to love about that? Nicaragua is one of the most corrupt societies in the Americas, claims Transparency International. They ranked it 133rd out of 175 countries in the world in 2014, just one spot better than notoriously corrupt Russia. Only Venezuela and Haiti had lower scores in Latin America, and hardly anyone retires to either of those countries. Even though this corruption rarely affects visitors, it occasionally rears its ugly head. Throwing money around to get things done is a common fact of life, and almost everyone who lives in the country has a story to tell about police trying to extort them for a bribe. Nevertheless, many people believe it's worthwhile for views this beautiful. For the laws in Singapore are absurdly strict. Tiny, one of the richest, cleanest, and safest countries on the planet is Singapore. It's also a top choice for expats who want to strike it rich and return home. But all that wealth generation and cleanliness comes at a cost. Singapore is governed by strict, frequently bizarre laws. The cleanliness of the city is one of the strictest. There are fines associated with littering, spitting, chewing gum, and throwing away cigarette butts. These aren't the kinds of fines you can dismiss by waving a quick US dollar and saying, "Sorry, tourist." Singapore is a very wealthy nation, and this is reflected in their fines. Anyone caught littering must pay a hefty $1,000 fine. Anyone found peeing in an elevator is taken into custody. Although these laws are strict, we imagine that some of our viewers may support them on a philosophical level. Spitting and leaving trash behind are both pretty disgusting. There are laws that demand things like flushing public restrooms after use, though. A $150 fine could be incurred for doing otherwise. 3. Britain can seem like a haven with its charming villages, gentle hills, and bustling megacapital of London. There is tea to be enjoyed, a queen to adore, and bad food to bemoan. It sounds great. That all assumes, of course, that you can afford to live there. And we're here to tell you that it's highly unlikely that you can. Currently, there is a huge housing bubble in the UK. A home can be purchased almost nowhere in the nation due to wealthy Russians, Chinese, and Saudis investing all of their wealth in London real estate. The numbers for those looking to purchase a home at the median price while making the average British salary of £26,500, $40,200 per year were recently crunched by The Guardian. They discovered that 91% of England and Wales would be out of reach for someone in those circumstances. Expatriates undoubtedly earn significantly more than the average UK worker, but the issue still exists. Despite being in the top 20% of all UK earners, a worker making £45,000 a year, $68,300, would still find over half the country out of their price range. Most of the country is not affordable until you reach the top 10% of earners at £60,500, $91,800 a year. 29% of it would still be out of reach even then. This covers the majority of the region surrounding London, which is where an expat's job is most likely to be. 2. The drug laws in Dubai are totally mental. You might assume that the simplest way to avoid breaking the drug laws of other nations is to refrain from using drugs while traveling. In contrast to other places, Dubai allows you to run afoul of the law without actually breaking it. Authorities frequently check the bloodstreams of travelers entering the United Arab Emirates. Even minute amounts of drugs in your blood are considered possession under Emirati law. A mandatory 4-year prison sentence is imposed for possession. The simplest solution would be to never use drugs, but the UAE's list of what counts as drugs is absurdly long and complicated. Both herbal spice and a variety of painkillers will land you in jail. A British woman was detained for several weeks in 2005 after a random screening revealed that she was taking medication for back pain. She had actually taken some prescription codeine before leaving on her vacation, it turned out. She developed dysentery while being detained in a jail. Sometimes you don't even need to use a drug that's illegal to end up in jail. 3 poppy seeds from an airport bread roll were discovered clinging to the clothing of a Swiss national who was sentenced to prison. 1. The air in China wants to kill you. China is a popular travel destination for Americans and Europeans because it is the next emerging superpower. While getting a fascinating look at one of the few still functioning communist regimes on Earth, there is history to be seen and money to be made. All of this has a cost. China's air will do everything in its power to kill you instantly. Though most of us have seen the pictures of Beijing being choked by dense pollution clouds, few of us actually understand how bad the situation is. Northeastern China's air pollution in November 2015 was 50 times higher than what the WHO considers to be a safe level. Because of how bad it is, most media outlets have called it an airpocalypse. It was referred to as doomsday by China's own state-run news agency, which hardly ever expresses criticism. Authorities issued a red alert complete with wailing air raid-style sirens when similar smog hit Beijing in December. Millions of people were advised to stay indoors at all costs, and schools and offices were closed. Most of us can't even begin to fathom how deadly these smogs are. According to a summer 2015 study that appeared in the academic journal PLOS1, China's annual death toll from pollution is 1.6 million, or roughly 4,400 people per day. That is comparable to the number of fatalities in the 2015 civil war in Ukraine. Even after moving away, those who do not pass away may still experience ongoing health issues. It might seem like a dream come true to immigrate to China. Please remember to bring your gas mask. That's for now. We appreciate you for being here. View more our channel videos.